Hi guys, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Okay guys, I've got a post here from Hedera, and this is a real big thing, and I'll explain why as we get through it, because this is to do with NFTs, and I think a lot of people think that NFTs are dead, but in my personal opinion, I don't think so. So let's go through this. So Hedera say, most platforms treat minting and trading as separate products. Centex.io treats them as a single continuous journey on Hedera, unifying the full NFT lifecycle so projects move seamlessly from launch to a healthy, liquid secondary market for collectors. Okay, so I'm on the website now for Hedera where they've gone into this in just a little bit more detail. I'm not going to go through the full thing, but just got some things I want to highlight here. So we've got here Centex, powering the full lifecycle of Hedera NFT projects at scale, connecting creators, collectors, and builders. Centex is the leading NFT launchpad and marketplace on the Hedera network, accounting for over 98% of all NFT collecting activity on the chain. What began as a platform to serve Hedera's earliest NFT communities has grown into the definitive infrastructure layer for digital asset creation, discovery, and exchange on the network, processing over 211 million HBAR in all-time volume across more than 2.2 million transactions. Okay, real great stuff here. So this is the thing that I'll say in regards to this. Obviously NFTs right now, they're not as big as they used to be, right? So I do think a lot of people think, NFTs are not that big of a deal. For me personally, I just think this is really more than anything just due to the whole, the market. Like I don't really think it's to do with people not really being bothered with NFTs anymore or anything like that. I do just think this is what happens when you go into bear markets. It's same as like meme coins, right? Like, yes, you might get the odd meme coin still popping off here and there, and that's because people like to gamble, right? So people still want to kind of like play the lottery and hope that they're gonna, make some money. But for the most part, meme coins are not really, they're not really popping off the way they were a little while back, right? In like 2025. And so the reason being is because, when the market's kind of stagnant, people are just not interested in any of this stuff, right? This is when they go away. It's kind of like, the real people who help build these bull runs are the fickle investors, because those are the ones who just come when the money's here and they go when it's gone. But you got to understand that they really help make bull markets, right? And bear markets too, because when the market's looking good, they start coming in and just throwing money out because they're hoping to make a quick buck. Same way when it starts to go bad, they panic sell, right? So they help in both ways to trigger off these runs, whether it's a bull or a bear. But you need them. You need them for both sides, right? Like you need them on both sides because they produce a lot of that activity. In terms of a bull run, them coming in and just throwing lots of money is adding to the liquidity that's going through crypto, right? So it's all helping to build up prices and things like that. And so, look, this is the thing that I'll say. First and foremost, I'll give you an example of an NFT that's on HBAR that's doing really well, and that's called Dead Pixels. So I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but they're an NFT collection. They've been doing really well. Like I can't remember like what level, but I think they got to like top 10 NFTs across all networks. So we're not just talking like a top 10 NFT on just Hedera. I believe it was on like all networks. It was competing with like Ethereum and things like that. And so when you think about that, like when you've got Ethereum, which is a much bigger network, for Dead Pixels to be like competing with that type of activity and volume from a whole, much bigger network like Ethereum, it shows you that the demand is there and it's doing well. Like, that really does. So please don't hold me to that because I'm not 100% sure, but I know it was definitely beating Ethereum in certain metrics and stuff like that. Dead Pixels was. I just can't remember 100%, so I don't want to like be quoted on that just in case I've got some of it wrong. But Dead Pixels has definitely been a huge success. So that's an example of an NFT that is really doing well. And that's specifically on Hedera. Now, so this is what I wanted to say when it comes to NFTs, right? So a lot of people, obviously, as I say, have been saying that NFTs are not really, they're just basically saying, they're not really worth anything. It's just some pixels on a screen and that kind of thing. You don't really own it, whatever. Listen, the thing I'll say about that to me, and this is what I don't really get when people argue this is just digital art, right? And so when it comes to art, just like anything, it's subjective. Any type of art is subjective, right? So you could show me a painting that a famous painter has done, and I might look at it and think, I don't really get this painting. Like, I don't really think it's anything special. I don't think it's worth the millions that people are willing to pay for it. To me, it's just not very good. Now, other people might look at it and think, this is a work of art, this is incredible, and they might, draw different things of what they think the painting represents, for example, right? And so this is where like it can get subjective when it comes to art. And so when people want to say, it's not worth anything, well, when it comes to like art, it's worth whatever someone's willing to pay for it. So at the end of the day, like, you can argue that it's not worth this or it's not worth that, but that's not for you to decide. That's for the people to decide who are willing to pay for it, right? That's what it comes down to. So it's nobody else's choice but the person on the other end as to what they feel it's worth. And so, if you go back to the previous bull run that we had, you had Bored Apes, which was really big on Ethereum. Now, Bored Apes in the end is, it's gone down a lot in value since, but again, that makes sense because we're not in a bull run anymore. And again, I do think this is the same type of thing with like NFTs. You're going to have certain things that are going to be just hype. So you are going to have like meme coins, like meme NFTs. You are going to have some that might just become a bit of a craze at the time. And then that's it. Like, after a while, the hype phase is out. Like, people move on. But I do think you are going to have some NFTs that will just be popular. It's like, for example, like Pokemon cards, right? Some people are willing to pay ridiculous amounts of money for Pokemon cards. Now, some people will look at this and say, it's ridiculous. Why are you willing to pay so much money for just a piece of plastic with like a random animal on there, a cartoon-like animal on there? But to other people, they like Pokemon. They like what it, represents. It's their childhood, or they're just really still into it and whatever. And they're willing to pay. They're willing to pay big money for it. So it's no different, So I don't think it's worth really trying to judge NFTs in that regard. I think it comes down to, whatever the person's preference is and whatever they want to pay. And so that's why I do think in the end NFTs will be successful. So for me, I think this platform could be big for HBAR, having this platform that's going to basically help scale the NFTs and have it all in one place. To me, I think that's a benefit, because I do think over time NFTs will get bigger. I do think, they will be here to stay overall. I do think you'll see some NFTs that will be successful. So I think this is adding to, having that platform there that's available for them to basically, like a one-stop shop for NFTs. So to me, this is great. I don't think NFTs are dead personally. That's just not my perspective. I think it will grow, and I do think it will have its ups and downs during bull runs and bear runs. I do think that's going to play a part in it as well. So it makes sense to me, but yeah, this is definitely something I'll keep an eye on. But sounds like this platform, Centex, is definitely going to be the one to go to in terms of Hedera. If you are looking for anything NFT related, it looks like this is going to be the one to watch. So great stuff to see here. I'll keep an eye on this, and if there's any further updates, I'll be sure to let you know. Okay, I'll leave it there. If you did like this video, please remember to like, comment and subscribe so you can be updated for future HBAR content. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can be alerted on when I do drop a new video. Thank you very much for watching this, and I'll see you all on the next one.